Here with me, I've got the Nintendo Switch Lite and the Nintendo 2DS, and in this video, I'll explain all the differences and what one may suit you better if you're looking to buy one of these. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy the video, or even subscribe if you're very generous. I'll get to the 2DS, but I'm just going to start off with the Switch Lite first. So the Switch Lite was released in 2019 and came out with 5 main colours. Yellow I've got here, it came out with turquoise as well, grey, coral and blue as you can see on the screen right now. The Switch Lite released for 330 Australian dollars or 200 US dollars, which is exactly what it still sells for now. But for the sake of the video, because you can only buy the 2DS console second hand, we will be saying this is 100 US dollars second hand or 150 Australian dollars because that's what they go for. In terms of colours that were released for the Switch Lite, of course you've got those 5 colours that I mentioned before, but you've also got some special editions like a few Pokemon editions, and there was a Zelda edition as well, which those don't cost too much more to be honest these days. In terms of screen size, the Switch Lite has a 5.5 inch 720p 60fps screen, but it's actually quite good because the pixel density is pretty high for this kind of screen, and it's much bigger even though it's a small screen in terms of like comparing Switch models. Like if you compare this to the Switch 2, this is a very tiny screen, it looks like a baby, but when you compare it to the 2DS's screen, it's very tiny, this screen. The Switch Lite's also got pretty much the same buttons as the regular Switch, except of course they don't slide off, which is pretty good. And also it's got a D-pad, which lots of people like for retro gaming. USB-C port, which is much better than what the 2DS has, which I'll show you in a sec. Obviously it's got the game card slot up here. It's got your buttons, your volume up and down, your power button. On the back it's just pretty much a big plastic piece. And then down here you've got your micro SD card slot. And then that's pretty much it. Home button, your joysticks. It's pretty good, feels pretty nice, even just like this. However, if you're playing games like Fortnite, this stick can become an issue down here because of how small the screen is. However, on the 2DS, that is not an issue, which I'll get to now. I'll start off with comfort for the 2DS, continuing on from when I was talking about the Switch. This thing just wraps around your hands perfectly. It doesn't really feel like you'll ever get annoyed of this design. And then screen size, you've got a 3.53 inch screen at the top, which is quite small. And then at the bottom, you've got a 3.02 inch screen. And these are, by the way, both 240 pixels, which is a lot less than the Switch's 720p. But you've got very comfy buttons, obviously. Pretty much the exact same buttons, to be honest. These are both squishy buttons. And you've got a touchscreen down here. This isn't touchscreen, obviously. Start, select. Your D-pad is pretty similar. The Switch Lite's D-pad is definitely better. Instead of having a joystick, you just got this. I can't remember what it's called. I have it on the screen now, but it's quite good. You don't really need it for many games, to be honest. You can just use the D-pad if you would really like. You got your SD card. You got a stylus here, which you can just use on the screen if you'd like. I never use it. I usually just use my finger, so it's not a big deal if the one you're looking to buy doesn't come with a stylus. You can mine didn't. As you can see, the color is different. You can literally buy them on eBay for like less than $5. I've got the blue design, by the way. Really like this. Just looks better than any others in my opinion. And especially the white design, you can kind of find them pretty dirty. Here you've got a sleep toggle here. See, it's kind of, instead of shutting it on a regular 3DS, you can just do that and then turn it back on. So we'll kind of put it in sleep mode, obviously. Kind of like just pushing the off button here. You've also got a headphone jack down here, just like the Switch Lite. And you've got mono speaker, so just one speaker. To be honest, sounds like absolute trash, but you don't really need an amazing speaker for playing retro games like this, to be honest. And then the charging port, it's not very good. It's just, there's nothing else that uses this charging port, only 3DS consoles. Whereas the Switch Lite, as I mentioned before, USB-C, literally everyone uses that cable now. Even iPhone users, surprisingly. Now I'm going to quickly talk about what you can actually do with these consoles. So the Switch Lite, I don't know how to do it myself, but you can actually mod these things now. Like on Marketplace, maybe for like an extra $50 or so, you can buy one that's already been modded by someone, which is pretty cool because instead of having to spend like $40 to $50 per game, even secondhand, they're very expensive. You can just buy one of those, $50 more, and then download every single game you want, just like you can on the 2DS. And these games, they aren't as expensive as Switch games, but they still are pricey, especially Pokemon games. So you can mod these, and then download the HShop on it and download every single game you want for free. I probably wouldn't own a 2DS or any of my other 3DS consoles if you couldn't mod them and get the HShop. But there is one thing you could do, especially for the Switch Lite, if you're worried about spending lots of money on games, because as I said before, this thing is not cheap when it comes to games. If you're looking at buying a Switch Lite for $100, the price of 2 to 3 games will literally cover the whole price of the console you've just bought. By the way, I almost forgot to mention, these two consoles cannot dock to a TV or be connected to a TV. This is the only Switch model that can't, the Switch Lite. It's just, that's why it's cheaper, to be honest. It would be cool if they made one like this that you can actually just plug into your TV, but they do it on purpose because, just like me, I bought the Switch Lite. I had one years ago, by the way, which I sold. I've got this one temporarily, but I used to have a Switch Lite, and then I really wanted to dock it to the TV, so I sold this and got myself a regular Switch. So if you're looking to play games on the TV, these two consoles are definitely not for you, especially the Switch Lite. I did mention the Switch Lite's price before in the video, so these are about $100 US, and to be honest, a 2DS is pretty much the exact same price. You can find them for $100 US, even cheaper if you're quick. So before I show you some gameplay of Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch Lite and Super Mario 3D Land on the Nintendo 2DS, as you can see, these are what the home screens look like. The Switch is just very boring and modern. You've got either white or black as your background, so there's not much going on here. You got your store there, Switch Online there, your account up there. There is not too much going on. Controller settings. It all looks pretty neat, but it is very boring. Whereas here the 2DS, it's just looks a lot more playful, I guess, as you can see. Just looks. Also, I do have. I think mine's modded, obviously, but you can download some modded wallpapers, some cool wallpapers. I've got them on my 3DS XL. You can watch on a video up here. So if you're looking to buy a 2DS or a 3DS model, but this is too small for you, the 3DS XL may be a good console for you. So click that video up there if you'd like to watch that. But overall, obviously the apps are so tiny on this, but it does the job. And yeah, this home screen looks very nice. Miiverse. It's pretty good overall. I've got Mario Odyssey and Super Mario 3D Land up on these consoles. I don't have any audio for these because you know what Nintendo's like, just don't want to get striked or anything or copyright issues. As you can see though, Mario Odyssey looks very nice, very smooth. 720p 60. The Switch Lite, of course, it's a Switch, not the most powerful thing in the world. But for games like this or Mario Kart 8, it's got more than enough power. And it's only the third-party games that tend to struggle on it. Like Fortnite it's probably the worst version out of all of them. Even a good amount of smartphones are probably nicer to play on than this, because it's just 720, well, it's less than 720p 30. But for a game like Mario Odyssey, this thing is pretty good. You wouldn't really want too much more. And now the 2DS, as you can see, it's not as smooth, obviously. It feels like 30. I'll let you know, I have it on the screen right now. But this thing, it's not too bad. However, with this game, it is kind of cool to play it for like a few minutes with the 3D mode on, which of course this and the new 2DS XL do not have. You've got the one mono speaker there. It's alright, does what it needs to do, doesn't sound amazing. Like the 3DS XL I've got sounds pretty good, to be honest. But this audio's not too bad on it. But everything, like the comfort feels great. Like it is right in my hands, no issues at all with this. And the Switch Lite, for a game like Mario Odyssey, you can see my thumb. Like I showed in the other Switch Lite video, I made a video just dedicated on the Switch Lite. As you can see, it's not the best in terms of comfort, but you can solve this pretty easily with buying a Satisfy grip. If you're in America, those things aren't too much, whereas if you're in Australia, the shipping alone costs more than the actual Satisfy grip, which is crazy. So there you have it, two very similar priced consoles, but two very different consoles. So let me know in the comments, what one are you picking for $100 US? If you're focusing on buying one of these two consoles and still struggling for what one you'd like, I've made a video for the Switch Lite, which will be sitting on top of the Switch Lite at the moment, and I've made a video for the 2DS. So If you're struggling, I've made videos for each of them. Thanks for watching.